and she pretty much was like one of the first, really big female horror writers, well, sci-fi and horror writers. So this is the, I'm doing this set, and I'm going to read also the story that I did in English 85B, and she did the set design for it. So I'm Sumiko, and this is my mom, Carolyn. So this is my interpretation of Frankenstein's, home and laboratory, the outside of where he lives. I wanted to do something kind of Tim Burton-esque, but it ended up being a little bit more Dr. Seuss than I anticipated, so I decided to just go with it. So that's that part, and then, the little doors open and stuff. And then this is, it's kind of like a little reversible thing, because if you, if you flip these down, then this is actually represents nature and Frankenstein's creature's relationship to nature. Like there's the electricity that started his life. This is the forest where he hid, and this stuff here is when he went to the North Pole, and then if you put it that way, we got a little monster and a little lamb.
Oh, do you guys want to come? Can we come and see?
Yeah,
Sorry,
come
come
and
around.
see.
Can we see Mom?
Yeah, can she start reading while you guys are looking at it, because
We want to see all the.
No, why don't you start reading?
okay, that's
And
fine.
I hate to correct you, but I didn't design the set. I designed.
No, I didn't. Did I say that?
Yes,
You know what? It was a mistake. I designed this stuff.
So actually, my responsibility was for our clothes and makeup. So that was it.
Tell them what our characters are.
Why?
Right. Okay. Well, I'm the bride.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'm the bride of Frankenstein, and she's Frankenstein. She's she's Frankenstein's creature. Okay. I'm gonna read this. I'm going to read this story. It's called The Last, and this story takes place immediately after the ending when the creature runs out into the North Pole, and it's from his perspective. Revenge is all-consuming. All at once it fed me and fed upon me. The way steam fuels a locomotive becomes its beating heart, propelling it ever forward, but in doing so, it wanders itself. Only by devouring itself can the hot water cause the train to engage in its forcible motion. When I was consumed with revenge, mine was heated heart, exhausting itself in the pursuit of my creator, but when it was over, I found myself spent. The heat was exhausted, and all that was left was cold. Cold and ice, a desolate land of ice. I exiled myself after the only father I would ever know died, never loving me, never truly knowing me. I was as cold and icy as the hand of Victor Frankenstein, which I held as I sobbed inconsolably by his bedside, and as cold as the grave he returned to in the frozen ground of his family cemetery. I was cold and alone, thus emptied of all remaining reason to cling to this tragic and ill-conceived life. I moved forward on heavy limbs, rickety and ill-coordinated. The snow and the ice smashed under my boot heel, and when I occasionally heard it crack, I deeply and profoundly wished with all of my heart that it would continue to do so, opening a great rift that would drag me under the sea. Contemplating death, I wondered whether one so strangely formed as myself, and with such bizarre sciences made, would drown in its icy depths. I felt the life flowing from my patchwork limbs in strange, contrasting levels of sensation. Some of my skin felt the prickling tingle of the icy wind that bit it, and I think I'm not going to finish this because I think she's saying it's too long.
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah, so anyway, I just want to say that actually she can finish it if you want. And I like to say that about Mary Shelley, that Mary Shelley actually comes from a background of scientist, and that actually during the period of time that she was writing, there were experiments in making parts of the body move by electricity. And actually the experiments that they had in Frankenstein where they moved the arms and the legs were happening at that period of time by doctors, and that now some of the technology is well, they're trying to develop technology to use that idea for paralyzed people at UCLA in Los Angeles. And that she wrote one and only book, and it was because she was asked as a kind of game that they played. They would get together, people in the, a bunch of writers would get together, and she was the only woman there, and they said, everybody should come up with something. So they gave her, something to do, and she came up with Frankenstein, and it was pretty much like a game. And so she actually, I think, only wrote that one book.
Okay, yeah, and she wrote a short story called The Last Man, which was a kind of like I Am Legend type sci-fi thing about the last man on Earth, where everyone else died. That was kind of big. Do you guys want me to finish reading this? Or?
Yeah, how long is it? Because I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm like 1/4 of the way through.
Why don't you read? Read for another. We're going to break soon. Read another page.
Yeah, it's only one page. I only read half a page.
Oh,
I mean, it's 2 pages. I only read half a page.
Read fast.
Fine. Sure. Okay. Contemplating death, I wondered whether one so strangely formed as myself and with such bizarre science as made would drown in its icy depths. I felt the life flowing from my patchwork limbs in strange contrasting levels of sensation. Some of my skin felt the prickling tingle of the icy wind that bit it, and in other places the skin was dull and numb. I saw through 2 mismatched eyes, one of which was very nearsighted. From time to time I would close one eye so I could get a better view of what lay ahead. One of my ears was prone to a constant ringing. My legs were uneven in length, and that caused one of my legs to drag slightly behind the other, a disability my Creator surely did not intend. I imagine He did not consider the implications of using limbs and organs from different donors of different ages. If He had, He might have foreseen the ache that I felt in my 66-year-old hip bones. Some strange animal or plant life entered my nostrils on the wind, and I sneezed. I doubted that Victor knew that I was born with allergies. My leg and hip were getting the better of me, and I was going to need to find a place to sit. Considering that I was determined to die, I was surprised to find myself looking for a cave or some nook or cranny in which I might experience warmth and have shelter from the long Arctic winter. I stopped where I stood. If I was determined to die, then there was no need for any shelter. I should just lie my body on the ground where I stood and allow nature to take its course. I slowly lowered my body onto its creaking knees, and then, placing the palms of both hands into the snow, as I began to lower myself down on my bottom, I looked at my hands, both tremendous in size, one a ruddy pink with broken yellow fingernails, the other an olive brown, kind of cocky, with nails neatly groomed and manicured. These hands both belonged to other men once, but now they were mine, cooperatively obeying my every command, even the ones that would lead to their own demise. I felt the soft flakes of downy snow land in cold spots against my skin, and I smiled as I was filled with a vast sense of knowing, an internal warmth aflame at the core of my soul, as I suddenly realized, finally, that I was a part of nature. I was a part of nature, and it was a part of me. When I finally hit the ground, I heard a mysterious cracking sound. Looking down, I laughed. I was sitting on top of the sled, the very sled that carried my Maker to the ship where He died. It was the last little bit of the world of man, the world that had rejected me, smashed underneath my unnatural weight. My laughter began to slow as I became aware of the gray forms strewn about me and the snow. Some were speckled with blood, but most of the sled dogs just lay there, curled up in balls, to ward off the cold. As I stood up and began to walk around, touching them, stroking stiffening ears and patting their icy fur, I let out a wail of grief. Who had abandoned them there? Was it my Creator who had let them run free in the cold night? Or was it theirs? I stood up and began walking around, touching them, stroking their stiffening ears. Okay, I've already read that. The senseless death of innocent creatures struck me to the core in a way that the death of a man never had. Then I noticed something odd about them. In the center, several dogs were piled close upon one another, Sensing that they were protecting something or someone, I began to peel back the bodies, and as I did, the bodies became warmer and further from death. I continued until I reached the last. The last dog was a young mother, sheltered by the bodies of the dead. I do not know if they covered her or if someone covered her body with them like so much cord would. Perhaps the wind blew their bodies against her somehow. I do not know. All that I know is that she lived. When I hoisted up the last and lifted her to my bosom, I saw below her on the ground the reason she held on to life so long. There were 3 of them, 3 tiny puppies frozen in snow. I saw them and I knew that revenge was not the only thing that was all-consuming. She lived for her puppies, knowing they needed her to live. Maybe she was just an excuse that I used to give purpose to my life. I can't tell you, but when I lifted her cold body up against my chest to warm it and she licked my icy cheek, fearless and accepting, I knew that I could not leave her there to die. That was when I knew that I had to live my life, to the last. We live in a cave now, and I know that she doesn't know that it is the bodies of her fallen comrades that I am feeding her as we sit by a fire fueled with the broken bits of wood that were once a sled. She doesn't worry about it. She doesn't worry about what we will do when the fire is gone or run out of food. She doesn't. I worry for both, and I live for both. I have told myself that I will live as long as she does. After all, how would DeLacy live without me?
Bravo. Thank you.